right, we're going to go ahead and get started. It is 4 o'clock, and we are going to be talking about add-ons for Google Forms and Google Docs today. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to send out a real quick chat as well. So let me hop over to this next screen here. All right, so once again, thank you for attending our webinar for today. Our topic is the best add-ons for Google Forms and also Google Docs. I am your host from NOACA. My name is Christy Hughes. I'm an educational technologist over there as well as a Google for Education certified trainer. I've actually been with NOACA now for 13 years. Seems like a long time. I was an elementary teacher before that, and I have 3 kids of my own, Bridget, Clay, and Ashlyn, that keep me pretty busy when I'm not at work. I also have Kim Murray on with me today. She also works at NOACA, and she is listed in the participants list as the webinar host. So just some webinar housekeeping. Mute your microphone. I think everyone is muted at this point, but once again, please don't hesitate to ask questions. You can go ahead and send them through the chat, or you could feel free to just unmute your microphone and then just go ahead and ask the question. We have a small group today, so just feel free to hop right in there if you have a question. If you'd like to follow along in your own account, I'm going to be talking about add-ons today, and so if add-ons are relatively new to you or you're just kind of looking to try some new ones, feel free to go ahead and do that. Just open up another tab or another window just so you can see my screen and hear my voice, and then also work in your own account. Our objective for today is to learn how those add-ons can help add on functionality to Google tools. And so the 2 apps that I'm going to focus on today are Google Docs and Google Forms. Towards the end of this webinar, there is one add-on that's kind of a cross between Google Forms and Google Sheets that I will show you. And then also there's a really fun one that is in Google Sheets. So I'm going to kind of end with that one. I know it's not related to Google Docs or Google Forms, but it is a really fun one, so I'm going to include that one as well. If you're not familiar with our training website, which I'm sure you've been there at least one time because that's probably how you registered for this webinar, but if you're not familiar, our training website is just training.noaca.org. That's where we house all of our materials for all of these webinars and classes and any training that we do. If you notice right up at the top, it does say class materials, and so that's the page that this is a screenshot on. As well as if you clicked on any one of these apps, you will be able to get what we call a checklist. And so that has a list of instructional videos on how to do various items on all of these applications or all of these products. So feel free to go ahead and use that. I will also mention at this point that all of these webinars are recorded. And so right up at the top, it says recorded webinars. And so we try to do our best to, once we record them, edit out, all the beginning part and the end part, and tag on our little beginning part of for NOACA, and then we put it out here. So if you have any coworkers or friends that would like to learn about add-ons but they were not able to attend today, feel free to just tell them to check out that recorded webinars page, and all of our recorded webinars are on that page. So go ahead and go to the next slide here. Our weekly tech tips, if you're not part of this, I would encourage you to go ahead and sign up. There is the URL down there at the bottom, as well as if you just go to our training webpage, there's a link. It's right on the front page of how you can sign up. It's completely free, and every Tuesday, so a couple hours ago, one was sent out on something new in Google Sheets. So if this is something that you feel like you would like to be a part of, just go ahead and follow that URL down at the bottom, sign up, and then every Tuesday you would get an email. It's not very long, just kind of short and sweet, that tells you a technology tip or trick that you can go ahead and try in your classroom. A couple last things I want to talk about before we go ahead and get into the add-ons for today. Our GEG of Northwest Ohio, you probably see this logo over here in the corner. All of these webinars are kind of sponsored. Of course, they're NBEC or NOACA, but then also we tag them with our GEG of Northwest Ohio. And what GEG stands for is Google Educators Group. And so every once in a while, we get a bunch of people together, and they're free events, so anybody can come. And we have, like, NOACA does a lot of presentations, as well as we ask teachers and other people that want to share their expertise to go ahead and do presentations. and we just go to various places. So this one is called the Perrysburg stop because we do a road show, and this is coming up very, very soon. So if you visit this link, which I'll show you the live site here in just a second, if you visit this link, you're able to go ahead and sign up to be to attend our road show in Perrysburg. And that's going to be at the Commodore building, and again, it's coming up within the next week or so, actually a week from today. So that is a full day of just all kinds of different sessions that you can take advantage of, and again, completely free. So March 7th, a week from today, 7:45 to 2:30, it's at the Perrysburg Board office or the Commodore building if you're familiar with Perrysburg. Here's a little map there, and then there's still time to register. So down below, we have our schedule for the day, and then we also have where you can go ahead and register for this event. So again, totally free. Feel free to share it with your colleagues, and we hope to see you next week in Perrysburg. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and present this once again, and we'll go ahead and get started with our add-ons for Google Forms and Google Docs for today. So the topics that we're going to cover. So first and foremost, what are add-ons? So I'm going to really define what add-ons are. Of course, we talked about with our objective, we talked about it being you can add on functionality to all of the Google tools. But what does that really mean? So we're going to talk about that. Some of the Google Docs add-ons that we're going to talk about are Doc Tools, EasyBib, Revision History Analytics, and Orange Slice, Doc to Form. And then in the second list, I've listed this GMath one. If you're a math teacher, you know math teachers, I would strongly suggest that you tell them about this add-on because this is a really cool one that does lots of cool things for math teachers because you know, it's sometimes really hard to put math expressions or math graphs or things like that into a Google form or a Google Doc or a Google Sheet. So GMath allows you to do that. And notice how it is also, it's in all of these applications, not just in one of them. We're going to talk about forms, form limiter, check it out. Form Recycler. Autocrat is that one that I was talking about a little bit earlier that is kind of a cross between forms and sheets. And then the last one we're going to end with is called Flippity. And then that is more of a game type application or game type add-on that is in Sheets. And so I will show you that one as well. So we're going to go to the Christie show on add-ons, but just so you know, when we hop back towards the end of this webinar today, I'm going to hop back to this presentation, and I'm going to give you the link to this presentation, and within this presentation are all the screenshots and so forth, so you can feel free to use that at your convenience. So at that point, I'm just going to kind of hop out of this, and I'm going to go to, I'm just going to say leave there, I'm going to go to my Google Drive. And so the first add-on that we're going to go ahead and talk about is, well, we're really going to define what add-ons are, and then we're going to move to Google Docs. So I'm going to go ahead and open up, I'll just go to my Drive, and I'm just going to say new document right here. And so if you're new to add-ons, you may or may not have noticed this menu right up at the top that says add-ons. Now, if you've never used an add-on before, if you click on add-ons, you're probably not going to have any of these listed. Rather, you're just going to have get add-ons and manage add-ons. So if you want to get any of these add-ons, you can just click on get add-ons. And when you do that, it kind of goes out to this little like store, if you will, where you can go ahead and search for any type of add-on by keyword, or you could just kind of scroll through and just see all the add-ons that are available. And you can see there are a ton of add-ons. I like that you can just go ahead and click on any one of these add-ons. Like let me click on this orange slice right here. I already have it, so it says manage, whereas this one I don't have it, so it's going to say free. So if I wanted to install any of these add-ons, I can go ahead and just click that blue free button. It's going to ask me like just a couple questions, and I'm going to say okay, and then it installs itself. Or if I already have that add-on, once again, it's going to say manage. And then at that point, if I don't want it anymore, I can click on manage, and then I can go ahead and remove that add-on. So it's allowing me to have all that, you know, availability of doing those things. If you add on all the add-ons during this webinar today, and then you decide tomorrow you don't want any of them, you can certainly do that as well. Once again, in our add-ons menu over here, I can also go to Manage Add-ons down here, and I can go ahead and click on that Manage button again, and I can remove them at that point if I wanted to. So easy access, if I wanted to click on Manage, I can just say Remove, and then it would remove itself from my add-ons menu. The thing I like about add-ons, just like anything else in Google, is if you add them on using like this computer right now, you can go to another location and you can go and they will all be there. So it's not just like it's only installed on this computer. It's installed on your account and it will always stay there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start with my first one, which is Doc Tools. So I'm going to click on Add-ons over here, and I'm going to go ahead and click on Doc Tools. Now, I get all these different things, and so I can click on Start if I wanted to, and that will bring up a little menu over here, or I can look at all the different options that I have, and either way will work. So I can sort the selection ascending, sort the selection descending, all uppercase, all lowercase, toggle case, capitalize each word, sentence case. So let me just type in sample here. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight this word sample just for really something simple. And I'm going to go to Doc Tools again, and I'm just going to say all uppercase. And so you'll see that it was working, and now it changed it to all uppercase. So just by clicking a couple times, I can go ahead and change anything in my document by using those Doc Tools. And so with that said, if I have like a whole list of, names, or if I have a whole list of food items or anything like that where I want to sort them, I can go ahead and highlight everything I want to first, and then just go ahead and sort them ascending or descending or convert numbers to words. That's a really nice one too. Like let me go ahead and I'll just type in 12, and I'll just highlight 12, and I'll go ahead and go to Add-ons again, go to Doc Tools, and I'll just say convert numbers to words, and then now it just converted it to 12. So just some really neat things, again, already built in with that add-ons called Doc Tools. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go to my next add-on in Google Docs, and this one is called Easy Bib. And I'll tell you, I've really started to really like this add-on, and I've gone out to several school districts and worked with their students on using this add-on. Specifically like elementary students, 4th, 5th, 6th grade, because those students are doing reports and they're needing to cite or, reference the things that they've used, but they're not really sure yet on what APA style is and what MLA is and all of that stuff. So if I go to my add-ons menu, and again, if you're just installing these, you're going to want to go to Get Add-ons and go ahead and install it. But here's Easy Bib Bibliography Creator. So I'm going to click on Manage Bibliography, and off to the side, what happens is I get like a little toolbar, which you're going to find a lot of these add-ons do this. And so over here, I can search for a book, a journal article, or even a website. So I'm just going to be really simple, and I'm just going to say the cat in the hat. So let's say that I'm writing a report, and that is one of the references that I've used. So if you notice, you also get the style down here. So it defaults to MLA. I can go ahead and change it if I'd like to, APA, or I certainly can, choose any of the other ones down here. But I'm going to go ahead, I'll leave it at APA, that's fine. Whoops, and now I need to type it in again, the cat in the hat. And then when I say search, what happens is it goes out and it searches for a citation, the cat in the hat, using the APA style. So I can go through, and just making my window a little bit bigger, I can go through and look. I would have to look, make sure the copyright year is the same one that I'm using. So here's 2016, 2003, 2003, and I can scroll all the way down to find the correct one. So your students can go ahead and use this, and let's just say, to make it easy, I'll just say this first one was the one that I needed. So I'm going to say select, and it pops it up right there. It gives me a little preview of what it looks like. And when I say add bibliography to doc, it puts itself right in there. And I really like how it even titles it references. So even though this is still on the first page, right underneath my word 12, it kind of separated it by giving this word references. So what I essentially then would do is put in a page break and so forth and all that stuff. But I like how I can go ahead and just tell it what type of style and what the title of the book is, and then I can go ahead and automatically put that in. I can also do the same thing for journal articles or even websites. So if you are looking at Info Ohio, or you're looking at different websites where the students really aren't sure how to cite those things, they can just copy and paste that URL over here, search for it, and then it will automatically populate with that citation. So once again, that one is called EasyBib, and that is an add-on. You can go ahead and install that if you'd like to in Google Docs. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, let me go to this one right here. And the next add-on that I'm going to talk about is called Revision History Analytics. And if you use Google Docs a lot or enough, you know that you can go to your File menu and select See Revision History. This will go ahead and list for you, and I'm the only one that's done edits on this document, but See Revision History shows you all the edits that have been made on each document and from which people. So if multiple people have contributed to this document, their names will be listed here, as well as the date and the time that they contributed. So Revision History Analytics is kind of the same idea, only it gives it more of a visual representation. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Add-Ons again, and I'm going to go down to my Revision History Analytics, and I'm going to just click on View Dashboard. So once I click on View Dashboard, it loads it. Now again, this is probably a really boring example because I'm the only one that has done edits on this. However, if there were multiple people, I would see all of their names listed here, and they would kind of have a little piece of the puzzle or piece of the pie over here, and they would all be listed in different colors. So this is really neat for group work, for showing parents in conferences how much their student has contributed or whatnot. So I can go ahead and look at that visual. Now down here it shows how many edits. So it looks like 2 times I did 2 different groups, probably question 1 and question 2. That's probably what it's referring to. And then I can keep scrolling down. If there were comments that were listed in this document, I would see them at this point. And then total words. So if I wanted to go ahead and analyze the data, I can go ahead and find out how many words. Well, that doesn't look, maybe I have to click on that plus sign there. That doesn't look very accurate there. It said 0. But you get the idea. So this will it's a nice spin-off from the See Revision History based on under your File menu. So if you'd like more of a visual representation, you can go ahead and add this one on, Revision History Analytics, and just view it by colors or by, little graphs and charts and so forth. All right, so I'm going to keep this Doc2Form example open because we are going to come back to this one, but I'm just going to go ahead and delete this because the next add-on I'm going to talk about, and this has become a really, really popular one as well, this one is called Orange Slice. And if you've ever heard of Orange Slice before, Orange Slice allows you to do rubrics inside of your Google Docs. And, you may have, depending on what you guys currently use, if you grade a lot of papers using rubrics, you may have heard of like Rubistar or, Google had a rubric creator or Gubrick, things like that. This add-on, once again, is called Orange Slice. So it kind of does the same thing, and it has a excellent, works great with Google Docs, and even moving into Google Classroom, it works there too. So I'm going to just go ahead and click on Add-Ons. Now I'm going to go down to Orange Slice Teacher Rubric. Now, if you're out in the Add-Ons store, if you will see that there's an Orange Slice Teacher Rubric, and there's also an Orange Slice Student Rubric, and they're different. The Orange Slice Teacher Rubric, of course, is the one that you want because you're the teacher, but you also can have students grading other students' documents. And so that one would be the Student Rubric. So if you have a lot of peer editing or peer tutoring or things going on like that inside your classroom, you may want to have the students add on the Student Rubric because it works exactly the same way, but yet it allows the students to have that ability to go ahead and do it. And what you're going to be able to see is it kind of shades the area. Like if a student got a 4, it shades the 4 or the 3 or the 2 or the 1 on the rubric. And so for the teacher, it comes in a certain color, and then for the student, it comes in a different color. So, there's no mixing it up. You'll be able to tell the difference. So let's just go ahead and take a look. I'm going to say Orange Slice Teacher Rubric, and then I'm going to go ahead and click on Score Rubric. So I have a blank document. Of course, I could have my, essay, or I could have my project details up at the top. I certainly can have all of that and then put the rubric below it. Or I could just start a fresh, clean document like I just did and name it rubric. That's fine too, whatever you prefer. So right now, I'm just simply going to follow these prompts. So it says create rubric, pick performance levels. So I'm going to just say, okay, I want descending, that's fine. Your performance levels, you get to choose here if you want A, B, C, D, E, F, or A, B, C, D, F, great, good, average. You can be creative. If I just click on this one, it does do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to close out of that just for a second so I can bring it back up again. But you also have the ability to create your own. So if I wanted to make my own, like maybe I wanted, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, whatever it may be, you can choose any of these that work for you. So again, I'm just going to click on this one because I'm going to let it do its own 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, but you certainly can do whatever it is that you however you typically grade. Now here, these are just examples. So if I was doing a rubric where I was going to grade them on their ideas, on their sentence fluency, on their vocabulary, maybe I'll skip over that one, organization, I can kind of choose all these or choose none of them. It doesn't matter. You also, once again, have the ability to say, I got this one, so you can put your own in there. And if you have one already created, you can use that too. You don't have to recreate. You can go ahead and use that just by bringing it right over and opening up Orange Slice. Orange Slice will recognize that it's already a created rubric, and it will kind of just bounce you through these initial steps because you already have this created. But I'm just going to go ahead and click a couple of these because I don't have anything yet in my rubric. And I'm going to say create rubric. So now what's going to happen is it's going to go ahead and create it, and it's going to populate on my Google Docs page. And so I'm going to see this whole rubric right here. Now what's really neat about this is I just chose ideas and sentence fluency and vocabulary and so forth. This is just kind of a table. So if it's bothering me that N was not, fitting on the page, I can go ahead and just move this up at the top. If I decided that I wanted to change 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to something else, these are all just text boxes. So I can go ahead and just go in there and change whatever I want to and, put whatever kind of text I want in here as well. And in addition to that, this is also just a table, so I can go ahead at the bottom and just add another column or add another row and just continue to add to my rubric until I'm completely satisfied with it. All right, in any case, we're just going to kind of leave this like this for right now. So we have our rubric, we have our ideas, here's our categories. The one thing, and I always caution people when you're using Orange Slice, after I just got done telling you about all these text boxes, the only thing that you need to keep, so in other words, you cannot change, is right here, rubric categories. You have to keep that there. You cannot rename that. That's kind of like Orange Slice's keywords. So just leave that one alone, but you can certainly change anything else within your rubric. All right, so off to the side, once again, I'm just following this wizard. So I have analysis or I have holistic. So if I wanted to do analysis, this would be my total points. So I can say the project's worth 100 points or 50 points or whatever. And then I would have to assign those point values. I also can weight different categories if I wanted to, or weight different grades. I can do that too. So all of that would be under the analysis. Now, this holistic one allows it to just be like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I'm not really worried so much about the grades. I mean, I'm certainly going to give them grades based on however my grading scale works. But if I just clicked on holistic, it's just that whole how many points are available just went away. And now we're really focused on just the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 area or grading scale. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave it as holistic, but you certainly can choose analysis if you want to. And I'm going to say finished. Now, just to kind of give you an idea too how this works, if you are going to be using this inside of Google Classroom, what I usually do is I create the rubric, and like I said up at the top, I named it rubric. So here it is, and I probably would want to be more specific, like journal rubric or country rubric or states rubric or whatever. And then I can go ahead and save it in Google Drive. Now, when I move or when I create an assignment in Google Classroom, I can go ahead and just attach this as part of the assignment and tell my students, hey, the rubric is attached, and go ahead and check it out. So that way they all can see the rubric. I can even make a copy for them if I'd like to, or I can just set it to view only rights. Either way is fine. But just know that this is just a regular document, so I can go ahead and use that and put it wherever I need to. All right, so let's just pretend that I've created this rubric and we've attached it to a project and everything. And now my students are ready to turn in their work and I'm ready to grade them. So down here it says process grade. Now, again, we're kind of fast forwarding a little bit, into saying that the students have already created a project. But if I have this rubric saved and Orange Slice is closed out, all they have to do is open up Orange Slice again by clicking on Add-Ons and Orange Slice. And just like if you have your own rubric, Orange Slice will recognize that you already have a rubric and it's ready to go, it's ready to grade. And so it's just going to kind of fast forward through all those preliminary windows that we saw, and it's just going to bounce right to this window because it sees what's already here. Remember that key word right here, rubric categories. Okay, so it's already going to see that. All right, so let's just kind of fast forward. I'm going to click on process grade. So we're just going to pretend that this is a student turning in his work and we're ready to grade it. So I like how over here, I get the whole big picture. Here's my rubric, but over here it's allowing me just to simply grade it. So let's say for ideas, they got 5, sentence fluency 4, vocabulary was 5, organization was 4, and presentation was 5. Voice was 5 as well. All right, so we're going to say process grade. And when we say process grade, it works and it works and it works. And what's going to happen is, look at that. It automatically shades those areas of the rubric. And so I like how that's really easy to use because just off to the side, I followed the wizard and then it automatically shaded those areas. I also want to make note of the fact that it changed the title of the document. So now it says teacher reviewed 5 rubric. So that was what it was called before, and now it named it this. So if you're going to go ahead and use something like Google Classroom or some other product where you're sending files back, it's still the same file. It's just that it was renamed, and I like that because now it's an easy indication that this is the graded document and not one that needs to be graded. So really neat. That's called Orange Slice. It's becoming a lot more popular. I can tell you I've taught Orange Slice to a bunch of teachers a lot recently just because I think people are kind of looking for add-ons that they can go ahead and use, especially with Google Classroom. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the next one. And let me go ahead and close this one. I'll just go ahead and hop over to my next one. This is also becoming one of my favorite add-ons, and this one is called Doc to Form. Get this question a lot where people will say, boy, Christy, Google Forms is so neat because now you can make it a quiz and you can have Google Forms automatically graded for you. Now there's also Flubaroo because Flubaroo would automatically grade it for you, and that was an add-on in Google Sheets. But now with Google Forms, it's already built in where you can go ahead and just basically turn that quiz feature on and it will automatically grade your form. And so with that said, there's a lot of people that have their quizzes and their tests and, all kinds of stuff already created in a document where they want to move it to a Google Form so that Google Forms will automatically grade it for them. And so with this add-on called Doc to Form, you can go ahead and do that. So I have this document right here, Doc to Form example, and I have question 1 and question 2. Now, of course, I'm asking about the weather because we live in Ohio, and I don't know, what is it today, like 40 or 45, 50 degrees, and tomorrow it's supposed to be like 70. So I thought it would be funny to have weather-related questions, but you certainly can have any type of questions that you may be asking to your staff or to your students. So I'm looking at this document, and I'm going to go ahead and go up to my add-ons menu, and I'm going to go to Doc to Form. So I'm going to click on Create Form from Doc, and it's once again going to pop up with a little wizard off to the side. So I like how I have some form options. So right up at the top, it says Collect Usernames. So if I want to collect usernames for anybody that takes my form, I can just go ahead and check that box. If I want Google Forms to automatically have a question inside there that says, what is your name? I can go ahead and check that box. If I want Google Forms to automatically have a question that says, what is your teacher's name? I can go ahead and check that box. Now, I certainly can uncheck those boxes as well, but I like how I get that option automatically, and Google Forms automatically puts that question in there. So now we're ready to go ahead and do question 1. So question 1, I'm just going to highlight this first question. I'm not going to highlight the number 1, although I could, but I don't have to. And I'm just going to click on Use Selected Text, and it's going to pop itself right in there. Now for type, I need to tell this add-on what type of answers do I want for my question. So in my case, this is multiple choice, although I could choose any of these. I'm going to say multiple choice. Now notice how this one I do not get the Use Selected Text. So I'm just going to go ahead, I'm still going to highlight this, but this time I just have to copy and paste them in here. You do want to make note though, it says add options separated with semicolons. That is very important because what happens is this semicolon tells Google Forms that each one of these answers belong on a new line. If you don't have the semicolon, it's going to mesh them all together into the same line. So you want to make sure that you put those semicolons in there. I'm going to go ahead and just say add a second question, and I'll do this really quick. I'll just go ahead and highlight this. I'm going to say use selected text, and so it pops itself right in there. And then once again, I have multiple choice answer types, so I'm going to go ahead and just highlight this, put these in here again with my semicolon. You do not need to put a semicolon after the last option, although it's not going to hurt it if you do. But again, it's just telling Google that you need a new line. So after the last one, it's really not that big of a deal. In any case, I'm just going to click on Create Form, and Google, or this add-on, is going to work its magic, and I can go ahead and click on View Form, and now I will see Doc to Form Example Form, so I certainly can rename that to be whatever I want to. I'm collecting email addresses, and here are my questions. When I check that box that says, what is your name? There's my question. When I check that second box that says, who is your teacher? There's my question. And then here's my first question. What is the weather right now, and what kind of weather are they predicting for this weekend? So just because I already had that in my Google Doc, I just did a couple clicks, used that add-on called Doc to Form, and I very quickly was able to go ahead and move it to a Google form. Now, just kind of as an add-on at this point, if you're not familiar with the quiz feature of Google Forms, if you go to this little gear up here in the corner, the new part of Google Forms has quizzes right here where I can go ahead and click on quizzes. When I say make this a quiz, I just slide that over and click on save. Now each one of these questions, if I click on this question, each one of these questions allow me to go ahead and tell Google what the answer is. So when I click on my answer key and I tell it what type of answer key, I can also add points. Once I put my own answer key in there and then click on save, then it would automatically grade it when my students submit their Google Forms if I wanted to. So again, that feature is under that little gear. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go on to the next one. That one, once again, was called Doc to Form. Okay, so let me go back to my, let's go back here again. And I'm going to go to Add-Ons. So let me close this. I'm going to go to Add-Ons. And I'm going to go to GMath. So that's the next add-on that is on the list. Now, if you're a math teacher, or even if you're not a math teacher, remember that GMath is available in Docs, Forms, and Sheets. So you can go ahead and put it in any of those. And so when I pull this out, I can create math expressions, I can create a graph, I can do any of these different things. So let's go ahead and create a graph, and I'll just be a little different here. Look at all of these different options that I have. So I can go ahead and scroll down, and I can see, I can put in my own type of things in here. I can clear the preview, I can edit, I can do anything like that. I'm just going to leave it how it is because I know that this example is going to give me some sort of graph. So I'm going to click on Insert in Doc. And so it's got, once again, going to work its magic, and then it just put a graph right inside of my document based on whatever type of function that I had here, knowing that I could have used any of these down here as well. So again, in that GMath, I can create a math expression. I can create even a handwriting entry. I can do that too. So all of these are available if you are a math teacher and you're looking for extra things to kind of put into your doc, your form, or your sheet. Now keep in mind too, especially when you go to forms, if you're trying to create some sort of quiz or some sort of survey where you're doing it for your math class, it's very difficult to type in any kind of math equation in Google Forms. So go ahead and add on that GMath or add-on, and then it will allow you to put all those things into Google Forms so that you can go ahead and ask a question about that certain math function. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to go ahead and stop talking about docs, and we're going to move on to forms. And what I do want to show you at this point, I'm going to go ahead and close some of these windows here. What I do want to show you at this point is if you are, again, new to add-ons and you're in Google Forms, how we added them on in Google Docs, it's very different. It's not the same way because when you look up here to your Google Forms, you don't see any menus. And so it's just very different as far as how you add those add-ons on. And so with that said, if you're in your Google Forms account and you're just kind of looking and you see this puzzle piece is only going to be there if you have at least one add-on installed. Now, if you don't have any add-ons installed in Forms, you're not going to see this here. Regardless, if you're going out to search for add-ons and you want to go ahead and add them on to your account, you're going to want to go to these three dots where it says More menu and go ahead and go down to Add-ons. And here's where we're going to see that little like store, as we called it in Docs, where you can go ahead and just kind of search for any type of add-on that you'd like to include in Google Forms. So that's where that is. Once again, once you add them on, they will become part of this puzzle piece, and then you can go ahead, they will stay there, and you can turn them on and use them anytime that you want to. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the first add-on that we're going to talk about, which is called Form Limiter. Now, Form Limiter is, and I have an example here. So this form is looking for 3 volunteers to help out with centers on Monday. Please sign up using the form below. So I have a title and I have, the instructions and then name and so forth. Now, if I want to go ahead and use this add-on, I'm going to click on my puzzle piece and I'm going to click on Form Limiter. Now, over here it says, okay, you want to set a limit. So I'm going to click on Set Limit, and it's going to pull up with a limit. Now, I get the option to basically turn off this form when it reaches a certain date and time, or when the max number of form responses are in. So in other words, if you're not familiar with this, and I'll close out of this just for a second, under responses, you can go ahead and turn this on and off manually. Like, whenever you're done taking responses, you can go ahead and turn this off. However, if you want it to be automated, like all of us do, it's like less work for us, right? So if you want to have it automated, we can go ahead and use this add-on called Form Limiter. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Form Limiter, Set Limit, and at this point, I'm going to say, okay, I want this form to turn off when the maximum number of form responses have been hit. So I'm going to say, and just for the sake of time, let's just say after one person writes their name, and I know this says 3, so we probably would want to put 3, but again, for the sake of time, we're just going to put 1. So once we get one person in here, we want it to turn off. Now, I want to make note, again, of how this is worded. So this says when the number of responses is greater than 1. So with that said, it's going to take 2 before it turns off. So let's test it out. So remember, though, if we were really following these directions, we would want 3 volunteers. But again, we're just going to put 1, and it says when number of responses is greater than 1. Down here, of course, you can change this. So if you would like a different message once all the submissions are closed, you can say, thank you, we have enough volunteers. We hope that you sign up the next time, whatnot. You can change all of that verbiage. I'm going to say save and enable, and so it's going to go ahead and save it. And then now I'm just going to go ahead and preview this form, and so we'll do a test and we'll see how this works. So here's my name, Christy. Whoops, if I could spell my own name right, Christy. And then I'm going to say submit, and then I can go ahead. Sometimes if I'm doing it rather quickly, sometimes I use that refresh button because it kind of helps it to recognize the numbers, because most people would have different computers anyway. But so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to say Kim is the next person, and then I'm going to click on submit, and I'll hit refresh again. And so there it is. This form is no longer accepting responses and has been set to automatically close by Wilma Flintstone. So remember though that I put that number 1 in there, and it said when the number is greater than 1. So if you want 2 responses, you need to put 2, or I'm sorry, if you need to put 1 in. If I wanted 3 volunteers, I would need to put 2. So just so you know, that is a really neat add-on, form limiter. Again, you can manually do that under responses, but you do have the ability to use that add-on, and then it kind of saves you that time. All right, so this next one is called Check It Out. And this is a really neat one. I'm going to go ahead and we'll just start with a new form just because I have a lot of open forms already. So I'm going to go to a new form. And this one is really neat if your district has Chromebook cards, projectors, things basically that they need to check out. So this form will kind of keep a list of all of those different things and allow people to go ahead and check them out and then check them in when they're ready to return them. So I'm going to go ahead up in my puzzle piece once again. I'm going to go ahead and go to check it out. Now, if you notice, if you are out in the store or in the add-on store looking for this, it does not come up if you have a space like check space it space out. You actually have to type it all in together, otherwise it won't come up. So just so you know if you are looking for that inside the store. So add, edit, question set. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And then off to the side, once again, it comes up with a little wizard. So I'm going to say check in and out set name. So instead of item, we're just going to pretend that I have a Chromebook cart that I'm checking in and out. Now, or I have multiple Chromebook carts that I'm checking in and out. So here are my check boxes, choose from a list, multiple choice, all of these different things. Now, if I have 5 or 3 Chromebook carts that I'm allowing my teachers to check out, because remember, if I'm doing this through a form, what's really nice about forms is it keeps that spreadsheet populated on the other side. If I go ahead and say, okay, check in or out my Chromebook cart, I'm going to say check boxes. Down here it says all items are checked out, all items are checked in. Now I'm just going to leave that there by default just so you can see how it looks, but know that you can go ahead and change that. So I'm going to click on add, and so it's going to go ahead and populate my form for me. So if I scroll down just a little bit, it says check out Chromebook cart, check in Chromebook cart. So enter my items here. I'm just going to really quickly say Chromebook 1, so that's cart 1, and I'll say Chromebook 2, cart 2, and here's Chromebook 3, cart 3. But you can certainly, put these in however you want to. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, I'm going to go up to my preview right up at the top, just so you see what this looks like. And then down here, and you certainly can, make this all nice and pretty and so forth, but it says check out Chromebook cart and check in Chromebook cart. So let's say I was a teacher and I wanted to go ahead and check out Chromebook cart 1. I'm just going to check Chromebook cart 1 and click on submit, and it says your response has been recorded. So once again, I'm going to click on refresh, and look at this, it automatically changed, and Chromebook cart 1 is checked out, and somebody needs to check it back in, and the only 2 available are Chromebook carts 2 and Chromebook carts 3. So if I wanted to go ahead and check out Chromebook cart 3, I can go ahead and do that, and then what will happen once again is Chromebook cart 3 will then be gone from the list, and I can go ahead and check it in, or there's only 1 Chromebook cart that is available, and that's Chromebook cart 2. So it allows me the ability to just kind of check things in and out. Once again, I probably would want to have a question up there that says, what is your name? Or I would want to collect email addresses or something so that I knew who was actually checking them in and out. But this is just a really nice way to have a Google form that it kind of keeps tabs on all of the different resources that I may have throughout my district. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about, we have like 3 more that we're going to quickly do before we're out of time. So let me close this one here. And the next one is called Form Recycler. So let me close this window. We'll say leave. And let me go ahead. I'll just pop open a new form here just so you can see what this one looks like. Form Recycler is really, really neat because if you're like me and, you might do a lot of forms, and you have forms that are already created, but yet now you have to do another one that's kind of like one that you've previously done, but not really. And it would just be so nice to grab questions that are already created to move them to a new form. And with Form Recycler, you can go ahead and do that. So if I go to my puzzle piece up at the top and click on Form Recycler, I'm going to go ahead and click on Recycle Form Questions. And so this is going to pull all the forms that I've done that I have in my account, and it's going to allow me to pull questions from any of the forms that I already have. Now, if I knew specifically like what the title of the form is, I can go ahead and grab it there, or type it in there, and then it will go ahead and find it easily so I don't have to scroll through. But let me just quickly, let's see if we can do this really quick. I'm just going to say doc to form example, and I'm going to click on select. It says my minions are working to recycle your form. If you do have a lot of questions within the form, I do know that it takes a little bit longer. So this particular one only had a couple questions, so it came in relatively quick. But if you have a big, long one, it does take some time. So what I can do is, what is your name? What is your teacher? What is the weather right now? What kind of weather are they predicting for this weekend? Maybe I wanted all of those questions. So I check the boxes next to all of them, click on Insert Questions, and all of those questions then will come in right behind that window. So what is your name? What is your teacher? What is the weather right now? And what kind of weather are they predicting for this weekend? So that's really neat. I mean, you might be thinking, well, gosh, Christy, I could just make a copy of the form that I already have. Which, yes, you definitely can, but the difference is now is, let's say that I wanted to add more questions. So I can go up to Add-Ons, go back to Form Recycler, and I can go and find a different form and bring in questions from a different form. So maybe I wanted to find, let's go down here, let's go GMath for form. So maybe I wanted to find some math equations to go along with my weather. It doesn't make too much sense, but maybe I would want to. So I can go ahead and grab questions from one form and questions from another form, and I can kind of mishmatch things together to make my one form be, easy to do. This may take some time because I did have a big equation in there that may take some time to load. But you get the idea of how I can go ahead and keep using that Form Recycler to go back and find multiple questions so that I have my form, at the very, very end. So really neat. That's a really neat one to use, especially if you use a lot of Google Forms. All right, so the 2 last ones that we're going to try to do here real quick. Let me close out of this. I'm going to go back to Google Drive. Actually, let me go back to my CEU test form here. The 2 last ones that we're going to talk about is the one that we're going to talk about right now is called Autocrat. And this is the one that I told you was kind of like a forms/sheets kind of together. And so what happens is, the reason why I said that, forms/sheets, is because when you're collecting data, of course, you're going to collect it through a Google form, and then it's going to pull into a Google Sheet. So I'm just going to give you a real quick example of, let's say that, I sent out a Google form, a CEU form, and, some people submitted their names and their email addresses, and now I'm ready to give out their CEUs. Well, there's an add-on in Google Sheets called Autocrat. And this is one prior to us using a different system. This is how I did all the CEUs for the webinars that we offered. And so when I clicked on Autocrat, it already had the email addresses, it had the names, it had the district, and the class title. And so now what happens when I pull up Autocrat, it will go ahead and allow me to automatically run a script, or, using this add-on, that it will automatically create those CEUs for you based on, the information in the Google Sheet, and then it will go ahead and automatically email those CEUs out to the people that are in your Google Sheet. So I'm just going to click on New Job. This upgraded recently, and so that's why it's saying all these things. But I'm just going to click on New Job. I'll just name it CEU, and I'm going to say Next. Well, let me try it again, CEU, and then we'll say Save. and then, oh, that's fine. Click on next. So it says choose a template. So what's happening at this point is it's saying, okay, you want to make a CEU, but you need to have something, some kind of template created with merge fields in it so that Google knows what to merge or what to create. So I'm going to use this one right here, but I'm just going to click on view so you guys can see it. We have the certificate of attendance, and these are those merge fields that I was talking about. So here's your first name, here's your last name, here's your district name, and then everything else is, I just type that in. But those are what's called those merge fields. And so if I use this, I'm going to say use, so it's fetching those tags. And so if you go through this whole process, this whole wizard, what eventually happens, so I'm going to say next again, what eventually happens is it's going to match the names and the districts to that document, to that CEU, and then it will eventually email it out. So at this point, I just kind of have to map your name, and again, for the sake of time, I'm just going to kind of skip over this, but know that you would need to go ahead and do that district name, make sure your district, it matches all of those different things. So I'm going to say next, and then I can go ahead and name it. I can also tell it, and when I say next, I'm going to click on next here again. We'll click on next again just to be real quick. This is the part that I wanted to talk about, though. When it says share document, if I click on yes, what this is allowing me to do is this is allowing that email to go out. So I can say to, and then I would say email address. So over here, these are all my merge fields. So I'm going to say to email address. And then down here, I can just say, dear first name, last name, attached is your CEU certificate. Thank you for attending our NOACA training. When I click on send, then it will go ahead and merge all of those fields within my spreadsheet, and then it will go ahead and send out individual emails to all of those people. So it's kind of like a mail merge, but yet it's including a merged document, and then it's also merging it and emailing it out. So the important thing to remember, though, if you're going to use Autocrat, is when you're collecting data, of course, you absolutely need the email address because otherwise it doesn't know where to go. And then you need to make sure all the important fields are there and match whatever type of document that you may be sending out. So once again, we use a different system right now, but prior to our system now, this is the way I used to do the CEU certificates for our NOACA webinars, because it populated them when you guys registered, and then your email addresses were already in there, and I just basically ran the script, and then it emailed everybody out their CEUs. So really neat. All right, the last one for today is called, and I'm going to go ahead and just do a new spreadsheet here. The last one for today is called Flippity. And if you've never heard of Flippity, Flippity is so much fun. So it's in Google Sheets. And if you go down to Get Add-Ons, you'd have to install it, but here's Flippity. So I'm going to go ahead and say pick a template. I used to be a former teacher, so I was always looking to do like Jeopardy games or any kind of like game type activities that would be more like review type things. And this one is so cool. They have bingo, they have hangman, they have all kinds of different things, ways to practice your spelling words. I'm going to just real quickly click on this game show one just so you can see what this looks like. And once this comes up, it's going to build a template. Of course, these are all just text boxes back here. They're in your Google spreadsheet, so I can certainly just go through and replace all these with, my information that I want the kids to review or study or whatnot. But it's already populated right there. So I would probably rename this to be, my review game for Chapter 5 or something like that. And then I can go ahead and save it in my account. Now, once I have all of these things populated and I'm ready to play the game, I can go up to Add-Ons, Flippity, and then here is that URL. Now, this URL right here is where this file lives in your account out on the web. So all you have to do is basically click the URL and it automatically creates that game. So I can have 4 teams. You can actually have up to 6 teams. And let's say the Simpsons for 100. So what street do the Simpsons live on? So each team would have a chance to guess. And I can go ahead and flip it over. And if team 1 got it right, we can go ahead and do that. Team 2, maybe they got it right too. Team 3 and team 4 both got it wrong. So what's neat about this is it keeps track of all the scores for you. So you don't have to do anything, and it shades that area for you too. So you basically just play the game, and the teams are allowed to answer, and if they get it right or wrong, then it keeps track of all of their points. So really neat. Again, how I got to this part was just by clicking that URL right here, but everything is loaded in that spreadsheet, and all of these are just text boxes. So I can go ahead and just type in my own information, whatever it was that I wanted to use, for my quiz or my test or my review game for my class. All right, so we covered a lot of add-ons today, so I'm going to hop back over to my presentation. That was the very last one, which was Flippity. So once again, I'm going to click on my last slide here and go ahead and present this. If you would like a copy of this presentation, here's the short link to this presentation. There are various screenshots in the presentation, as well as re-record all of these webinars. So this will be up shortly if you'd like to rewatch it or share it with your friends. If you'd like to get involved with our Google Educators group, there's our link right there. You can go ahead and visit that site, as well as if you'd like to sign up for our Perrysburg event next Tuesday, I would encourage you to go ahead and do that. And then signing up for our tech tips, there's the link for that as well. Once again, every Tuesday we send out just a short and sweet tech tip of something that you can try inside your classroom. And then lastly, your CEU information. If you've never sat through one of our webinars before, what we do with our CEUs is basically by tomorrow morning when you come into work, you're going to have an email from our NOACA system. And within that email, you're going to have a link to fill out an evaluation for this webinar. Once you fill out that evaluation, it will kind of prompt you for your name and your district and so forth. Once you fill all of that out, then your CEU will automatically be emailed to you, and you'll go ahead and be able to use that to print it or forward it on to your committee or whatnot. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up at this point. I will hang on to this webinar just for about 5 minutes or so if you guys have any questions or comments. But thank you for attending our add-ons webinar for today, and hopefully you learned some things, and we hope to see you again.